I think recently our podcast, we were called both liberal retards and PAP dogs.
I think right now I enjoy reading those comments because it's still a comment nonetheless. You know, it's engagement. You're feeding the algorithm.
The fact that, we are going to have rallies.
Definitely go to a physical rally. There's something electric about being there in person.
Bruh, the content. Who has been the most exciting guest on your podcast?
He said, okay, just ask me anything. I was impressed with the way he took the questions. There's nothing that you cannot ask. And then the pranks thing came as an experiment, and then that took on a life of its own.
Well, yeah, that's the closest I got to being in prison. On today's episode, it is my real pleasure to have with me comedians, creators, directors, podcasters, journalists, political commentators. I don't even know what to say to describe what they do, but I can guarantee you one thing. They are here in the studio with me on the Rishi Report. What's up? Haresh and Terence from the Ministry of Funny.
What's up, man?
What's up?
Thanks for being here, man. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us, man.
Yeah.
We'll definitely answer the call. Like the moment it comes out, it's like bat signal. We just like, okay, we're coming. Yeah.
So you're a self-declared Batman now.
Yeah.
So who's wrong?
I mean,
Look at this fella straight away come on the show. It's like, hey, Rishi Report, but we are Batman.
you need us, we're here. Just flash the signal.
Tough question. Are you ready?
Sure.
Who's between the two of you, who is the Catwoman?
The Catwoman.
Or is there Robin? Is there, what have you? You can't both be Batman.
Robin. Yeah, lah, true lah.
Yeah.
Terence.
I mean, I think like in terms of personality-wise, you're probably closer to Catwoman style, right?
I usually what kind of fuck all answer is
I know,
that?
that's a tough thing, excuse me.
I gave him the privilege of answering first. No? Then he called me Catwoman. Not to say there's anything wrong with Catwoman.
What's wrong with Catwoman?
Nothing
wrong.
Nothing
you got
wrong.
problem with women?
No,
Problem with cats? Problem with cats?
No, not at all. But
our next guest is from Aware, discussing the differences between Batman and Catwoman. No.
Yeah.
Again, thanks a lot for being here.
Sure thing.
You both, as a duo, as a unit, have had this evolution in show business in Singapore, which I have followed, and I think it's extremely interesting. The fact that when you started off as agreeably one of the OG channels on YouTube, right? You all have all these trophies and plaques in your office. I've seen from YouTube.
Just when we hit 100,000 subscribers and all that
right,
for Ministry of Funny, got.
I mean, and you started off with some prank videos. I mean, I remember, Haresh, you wore swimming trunks and you dove into outside Wisma Atria.
Ngee Ann City. Yeah.
Into the fountain.
Yeah.
And now y'all are sitting with, a law minister and discussing issues that concern Singapore.
Yeah, man, who would have thought?
Who would have thought?
Yeah.
Did you think, was this the trajectory you imagined or you planned?
Not at all. I mean, from the time we started pranks, we actually started doing skits before. But those, no one gave a shit. And then the pranks thing came as an experiment, and then that took on a life of its own, and then we grew from there.
I mean, before even creating content, we were just like, okay, let's do something related to comedy. And I recall us even meeting up to go for comedy events like open mics. And one of the young talented artists that we first saw together was actually this young man called Rishi Budrani.
Performing.
No, for real.
For real.
Wow.
Performing stand-up. I remember it was a tea place, right?
Tevika.
Tevika, yeah.
Dude, that's my buddy's tea cafe in Amoy
Tevika.
Street.
Yeah,
we're like, let's scope out the comedians and see what, whether we can work with them and things like that.
Yeah.
Right?
Wow.
So as much as we appreciate you following our journey, we've been following yours too, Rishi.
Yeah.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. And the good news is that so far, none of us has been in jail for the work that we do.
And some more, you have hosted NDB.
And, that's the closest I got to being in prison. Yes, you're right.
Pinnacle of comedy, right? To get to NDP.
Pinnacle of comedy. Thanks.
It's like hosting the Singapore version of Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I don't know if J-Lo will ever do NDP. Or...
You're the Kendrick Lamar of Singapore, essentially.
The roasting has begun. Being, artists, creators that has the trajectory and the evolution that you've had. It's almost sometimes I feel like y'all are those ministers who have done the rotation of multiple, ministries, right? Sometimes the Ministry of Health, sometimes education, sometimes transport. It seems like you have done a lot of that. Like sometimes you are directing a series, sometimes you are creating a live show, sometimes you're doing a podcast. Is there any one genre of this work that you're doing right now that you are enjoying the most?
I would say for me, it would be podcasting. In our studio, just talking about current affairs, talking about news. I think that's the most at home I felt in terms of a content format.
Yeah, but definitely podcasting. I mean, I think podcasting, like even the early 2000s, it was already something, but it was very niche, right?
Yeah.
But I think only in the last 5 to 10 years, then it's sort of like discovered as a place where, people with different talents, comedians, content creators, all that, can find a little niche for yourself, a little corner for yourself, and you slowly, attract an audience and build a community. Yeah. We weren't able to do that on YouTube. Like YouTube, we were fighting the algorithm, trying to get on top of the trending charts and stuff like that. But there's none of that in podcasting.
The only downside is during Ministry of Funny Days, I used to get all the attention because I was the only one in front of the camera.
I'm sure the
Now I
downside.
have to share it with this dude.
okay.
So see
Downside.
now, this guy thinks that he was Batman. That was he used to be Batman. Now he's like,
There's a big downside for him.
okay, Robin
the only
along.
downside to podcasting.
Well, you know what they say, right? I think sometimes your strength lies when you come together, and they say that the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. And I think your podcast, in a lot of ways, shows that, right? It gives the both of you a chance to share your opinions, which are not always the same.
Yeah.
I'm sure you disagree on a lot of issues and disagree on a lot of
I mean, I would
points.
say even for Ministry of Funny, we were working creatively together, and a lot of the ideas also came outside of, like from behind the camera. So it's just that I think now we have found a groove where, it's just a different kind of format, and I think it's more suited to our style. We've always wanted to talk about tough topics. We've always wanted to go deeper rather than shallow.
Yep.
And the podcast allows us to do that, lah.
Do you face like challenges and disagreements in the years that you've been together? Is it like a marriage?
Yeah,
Almost.
I would say.
Yeah, definitely. Creative
definitely.
marriage. But I'm sure different from a romantic kind of marriage, right?
I don't know. I mean, you don't have to.
Quite different, lah.
Different,
Quite different.
yeah.
I don't know why you had to qualify that. Like just saying, guys, it's not a romantic
Thanks,
association.
Terence, for making it awkward now.
Yeah,
No,
man.
I'm just pointing out, like we're all married guys. We've had our experiences. In some ways, maybe, working with our spouses or doing projects with our spouses, all that. Very different approach when you, this kind of like creative marriage, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I would say it is really a marriage because even like day to day, we disagree about so many things. And I mean, in some way, our podcast kind of gives us a platform to disagree for a living with each other.
Wow,
Because
beautiful.
that's essentially like the ethos of the podcast, why we call it Yah Lah But, our approach to content, even the way we thought about doing this podcast. Initially, we started a podcast that was guest-centric, which you were also on.
I was on
way
yeah.
back. It was
Yeah.
called The Mushroom. You and Sharul came on.
Yes.
It was a horrible name. We did 9 episodes.
Are you talking about my wife's name?
No, the podcast name.
Okay,
The
better be clear. Better be clear about
It's
that.
a Will Smith moment
Yeah,
coming
that's
up. Keep my wife's name out of your
fucking mouth.
I think my wife will be the one throwing the punches. So you gotta be careful of that, man. Okay, I will not attack a fellow Sindhi man, But my wife will be like, this is Sindhi fellas.
But yeah, you were on the first iteration of
remember
our
that, yeah.
podcast. Yeah. And then it evolved to become Yah Lah But lah.
Yeah.
Who's the most exciting? Okay, it's because now of late, especially in this year, it's SG60. It's election year. Do you feel like this is the year where you get your most exciting guests? And if yes, who has been the most exciting guest on your podcast so far? Got it. Tafa.
I mean, so the first thing is, I would say like, we've gotten some very exciting guests, but even last year we got very exciting guests, but this year it feels like the exciting guests we're getting on almost feels like we're going to have a direct impact on the elections, having an impact on the elections.
You feel that? You feel like there are people who are watching and listening to your podcast and who are learning about the elections and who are, it's in a way, influencing their decisions?
I would like to think that at least there's a bit of impact just based on the view counts alone. And the amount of mentions and the amount of discussions we've been seeing online on the comments of the different episodes, which is super heartening. And it really feels like we are in the thick of the elections, which feels like, oh shit, we're making a difference.
So who is the person you have?
Oh yeah, the person. I would say that
This guy. Yeah. skirting around the answer.
The beautiful thing about interviewing people who interview for a living is that they will catch each other, right? They will like, hey, bro, can you come back to the point? This makes my job very easy. Because I was going to say, so bro, who are you? And like, hey, bro, answer. What do you mean? Why you smoke bombing the fella?
See, if you sounded like you would have told me in a kind way. Not like this guy, hey, answer.
I'm not creatively married to you.
I wasn't shying away from it. It slipped my mind. But I would say there were two guests so far this year that really surprised me. One was Ong Yi Kang. And I mean, like, I think it's very easy to be critical of the incumbent ministers. I mean, on our podcast, we are quite critical of some things we see in Parliament and all. But Ong Yi Kang, I didn't know much about him apart from his social media prowess. But after the conversation, right, I was impressed with the way he took the questions. The fact that even before he said, okay, just ask me anything. There's nothing that you cannot ask. And the way he answered the questions, which I was like, oh, wow, that's very impressive. And the second one was Dr. Paul Tambaya, who I have heard a lot about, who I followed, but again, sitting in front of him, asking him all the questions, learning more about what he does in his medical profession, as well as being an opposition political member. Very impressive.
What a politically correct answer. One opposition, one PAP.
What about you?
Ask you for one, must give two.
What about you?
He's non-stop thinking because you see, I'll tell you why. I can read Haresh's mind. Right? You know why? Right?
Don't try. You don't know me, okay? You don't know me, okay?
Look, you see, this is what is happening in Singapore all over. Okay, SG60, right? All the civil servants in senior positions, all the military fellas, they're all stepping down to eventually join politics, right? Haresh is also going to step down from Ministry of Finance. And eventually, he's going to be some NMP, and then he will quit NMP and join a party. That's his plan, bro.
That's the thing,
Dude, of all three of us, I think you have gotten closest to that with you being the NDP host. You change one letter of NDP host, what does it become?
SDP, is that what you're telling me? You're telling me that I should join SDP.
And then you've officially stepped down from hosting duties of NDP already.
I mean, if not getting a callback call means that I was officially stepping down, I guess sure. Let's say that's what happened.
That's true because people do get callback but
I mean the Sindhi people don't get callbacks. So we are not the Indians they want.
That's true.
Okay, no, but Terence, how about you?
I'm more of a man of the people. So my most interesting interview, I think, was with Faye Sai. She's a third generation hawker who runs a coffee shop in Amoy Street. And it was interesting because, cost of living, protect our hawkers, all that is stuff that we hear about every day, right? That people get very charged about. But essentially, she came on a podcast and said, we don't need you all to pity us, We are just running our business. That's how we want to lead our life. And there are certain good things and bad things about policy. There's no magic bullet for it. So don't pity us. Just, if you want to come to drink a coffee, come and drink a coffee. And I thought that was a perspective that I had never heard. And it's so interesting coming from a third generation hawker. We talk about UNESCO, heritage and all that. They're like, I don't care. It's just a business to me.
So you're saying I'm not a man of the people?
I mean,
you saw how he started. You saw how he started. I'm more the man of the people. I'm
not an elitist, hanging out with big politicians.
See what I mean? The whole is greater than the sum of the parts. See, you cover all this political.
But sometimes one part is a lot more annoying than the other part.
That's for you to decide in your registry of creative marriages. I think it's amazing how you are both positioned in Singapore right now. And I always, the aim of this show is, given it's SG60, to bring people who I feel have had a little bit of an impact on the fabric of the nation. I know it's a weird thing to say, but I do agree with you in that there are people who are watching your work out there, and there is an impact that you are making, not just on the current batch of Singaporeans, but potentially the future of this nation. So because of that, at some point, we will go back into this discussion about parliament and politics and elections because it's election year. But before we do that, as it is a tradition on the Rishi Report, we do a little bit of political or current affairs news improvisational games. You guys have been a part of that before in my live show. Back during the pandemic times. The game is wrong headlines only.
Okay.
So the accomplished team of broke and unemployed comedians has picked out a few headlines from around the world. We have blanked out some parts of it. We'll do Terence versus Haresh lah.
Can.
Okay.
Man of the people versus
Elitist. Okay, can.
High SES versus hawker fan.
Can. Yeah. Michelin star versus
Michelin star.
Actually, Michelin star got Michelin star.
Bib Gourmand.
Hawker also
Bib
got.
Gourmand, Bib Gourmand,
Bib Gourmand,
Bib Gourmand.
yeah.
So this is an example of us pushing the joke too far. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? If you're listening, that happens. That means that we've reached a stalemate and we've gone for the funniest thing we could have come up with.
Yeah.
Now let's not push it. Okay, but we need to get there before we do that. Okay, come. So the first headline, and we'll talk about what's going on now. Okay, the first headline that we have. Okay, Phillip Island. Penguins face what? What are the penguins in Phillip Island facing? Facing extinction? Are they facing harsher climates? Are they facing each other? Because penguins are always facing each other. I don't know, man. What do you think? Phillip Island, y'all know where that is?
No, where's that?
No.
Australia.
Australia. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So you see, the level of this show is very different. You all talk about politics, we go straight away to penguins.
Geography.
Yeah.
So who's going first?
This time you go first. You are high SES.
Phillip Island penguins face discrimination because they are neither black or white.
Oh, go on.
The race card lah, the race card.
I like
That's
it,
my
bro.
jam.
They are neither black or white. And they are facing discrimination by the Aussies. Of course they are.
Yeah.
Australians are discriminating against penguins. Okay, go.
Phillip Island penguins face a 10% tariff from the United States, all United States exports.
Oh, wow.
Second time using the tariff joke, Terence.
What can I say?
Second time,
It's so competitive.
It might actually be the actual headline itself, right?
I really...
Because there is that one island that
Yeah,
cannot
there is,
terrorists,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Inhabited only by penguins.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
North-
There is.
No, yeah, there's one island in the Arctic or something, Australia, inhabited only by penguins. They cannot terrorists also.
Yeah.
Could be, man. Could be. Okay, we will get to that discussion about tariffs.
Yeah.
But let's find out the reveal of this, please. I want to see what they are facing. Rising divorce rates.
Oh,
Is this really, yeah?
Wow, divorce jokes just keep coming.
How do they...
No, wasn't there that book that was banned in Singapore about these two penguins?
Yeah.
that-
Yeah.
Because
called?
one of them was, I think
They were same sex.
Gay penguins?
insinuated that they were same-sex
Same-sex, yeah.
penguins. Okay, I read a little bit about this, right? They say that in Phillip Island, right? So the data suggests that the increase in divorce rates are correlated with the lower breeding success.
But how do they divorce? How do penguins
They
file
just
a
go and
divorce?
sleep with other penguins.
Do they mate for life? Are they one of those that mate for life?
Penguins are known to be loyal to their partners.
Partners,
Yeah,
life
yeah.
partners,
Yeah.
life
Yeah,
partners.
yeah.
Yeah. But do you think this sounds a bit like Singapore's problem? Like our birth rates are going down, but our divorce rates are going up. Because that's what this article says about the penguins on Phillip Island.
Yeah.
Birth rates are going up also.
Going down.
Birth rates going
Because,
down.
they are facing rising divorce rates because of...
The data suggests that the rising separation rates are due to are correlated to the dropping rates of breeding success.
Oh shit, it is like Singapore, huh?
I mean, if you look
Singapore
at it,
divorce rates are increasing also, right?
yeah, that's what I've read from at least as of 2024. I haven't seen 2025 data.
Isn't this headline weird? Because I thought divorce is you got to sign a paper, you got to go and have someone.
Penguin
chief
got no
justice
finger
on-
to hold a pen.
Yeah, so why
to
was it
sign
called-
the paper,
Should it
bro.
be called rising separation rates or something? Rather than
Maybe
divorce
it's a bit
rates?
of a joke, lah.
Oh,
Maybe the
okay,
Aussies trying to be funny
That
also.
would be funny.
Maybe separation, or maybe they just the penguins just want to swing, go
just wanna
sleep
sleep
around,
around.
sleep
Yeah.
around.
Happy
I mean,
feet.
who else lives on Phillip Island? Is it just penguins?
Probably right.
At least penguins and the people who write this article, I'm sure. They
Yeah.
must
So
have
can you imagine
done
that
some research.
penguins have the whole island to themselves? Maybe they also are thinking, have kids for what? Why? Let's just be like dinks lah.
Dinks, dual income, no kids.
No, yeah.
Oh man, the acronyms never stop in
Dinks
Singapore.
dinks. Just
Penguins
play
as
around
dinks.
fuck around
Okay, that's cool, man. Thank you very much. I appreciate your contribution there. I really enjoyed Haresh's joke in that one. Very good. Thank you
Okay,
very
yeah,
much.
wow.
Discrimination, so good. I'll give you one last one before we
Yeah.
go into some real issues. Okay, come. Let's go. One last headline. Singaporean takes a 6 a.m. flight to KL for... This person went to KL at 6 o'clock in the morning. For what? 6 a.m. Work? I don't know. 6 a.m. seems like a normal time to go to KL.
Yeah.
This
is
why
like
does
normal.
make headline?
Yeah.
How come? What would he have done at 6 o'clock in the morning?
6 a.m. flight to KL.
For, I don't know, for some love, do you think?
For
For
for meeting his Malaysian partner.
For worst tasting food.
Worst tasting food. Oh, this guy dropping something. You want to hit one?
Yeah.
Come.
I was going to say for like dim sum breakfast, but
Actually, let's reveal lah. This I cannot tahan. For nasi lemak, bro. This guy really went in.
for nasi lemak.
You know where or not? There's a village what restaurant? Village Raya restaurant or something. I think this guy Darshan went in there.
Darshan, yeah.
He went in there and he said, bro, I love this place. I'm going to go in early in the morning to have some nasi lemak.
And then he came back after that. I mean, maybe he didn't come back after that. Maybe he stayed on for a while.
He actually had other things to do.
So maybe this is a shit article headline.
That's a bad one.
I have flown at 2 a.m. to some other country. How come I never get an article saying I'm flying 2 a.m. to Japan for
Did you go
sushi
for
breakfast?
For nasi lemak? Or you went for sushi at 2
Sushi breakfast, yeah.
Yeah, I drive to JB at midnight to eat supper.
Why we never get articles?
How come it's not a headline?
I take your point. I think in the next episode, we should have something that you did at 2 o'clock in the morning and you did at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah,
exactly.
there's so many things I do at 2 a.m.
This is a bad one. Okay. I think it's not fair. This one we cannot give
Terrible.
points. But let's change it up a little bit. Okay, so those are some of the headlines that we've seen that are a bit nonsense-y. But given it's election period right now, right? A lot of the politicians are now out and about. Have you seen your MP at any of your estates or doing their walkabouts on the weekend?
I mean, I saw him around the MPS session. I mean, naturally where he would be, but I haven't seen him out and about near where I stay.
Are you which constituency is
Mountbatten, SMC.
Mountbatten. So who's the fellow?
Lim Biao Chuan.
Lim Bao Chuan. SMC lah.
SMC, yeah.
Okay, good. But never see him. He never come and pop up behind you
Never come to
during
my house.
kopi.
Yeah, never.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm always waiting. Whenever I go to a coffee shop, I'm like, maybe today is the day. Nothing.
are you mic'd up
I'm always mic'd
with
up.
your hidden camera? Let Lim Bao Chan come today.
Yeah.
I
Always
will
mic'd up.
teach him a lesson.
I go out because I go out with my family and kid a lot. So I don't see any MPs or at least my MP around. But I think last weekend, I went to the zoo.
Yep.
And I saw a very, very rare species of animal there lah. It's
MP.
called Senior Minister Lee Hsien Loong himself. Ho Ching, walking around the zoo with his grandchildren and all.
There's only 3 left in the wild, right? Senior ministers. Or
I
2.
think so, like 2, right?
Did you say in the wild?
In the wild.
Yeah lah.
Okay.
The zoo
Assembly
lah.
and SM. Which are, there's another senior minister, right?
Goh Chok Tong is an ESM. Is he still part of
EMS, right?
Emeritus?
Yeah, emeritus.
Oh, SM.
Yeah.
So a few of these left in the wild, just roaming about.
So when you saw Assembly there, I mean, was he with his security?
Yeah,
or
security.
Still have lah.
Grandkids, all that. But I wasn't very sure whether it was a walkabout lah, in that sense of like trying to get votes and everything. It seemed like a family thing, so I didn't go and like disturb or what lah. Yeah.
Difficult lah, right? I mean, imagine one day like you all enter Parliament, right? Because I know you all have expressed interest that you like to go and sit and watch Parliament before. You've done that before, right?
Yeah, I've done it before.
Put like a 20-cent coin in a locker.
You need a 20-cent coin because the locker only accepts 20-cent coins.
What kind of archaic system is this?
I hear that they're going to improve it lah. They're going to change it to cashless as well.
And then make it 50 cents.
Oh yeah,
Possibly inflation with GST also.
Exactly.
GST.
Got to increase the cost of watching Parliament. You got to increase the cost of watching us discuss the cost of living. Okay, it's going to cost more.
Yeah.
Imagine one day you become a politician, right? And then your child goes to a SEP school, and then you have a white horse platoon child, and then your child, people know that your father MP, of course, easy for you. Life is so simple.
I mean, never put too much thought on it because like, I can't imagine becoming part of Parliament.
No.
Yeah.
I don't think so lah. Not at this point lah. I don't know. Maybe in future you never say never. That's also assuming that there will be a chance to enter Parliament. But I mean,
I think the at least the members of the PAP, who is the ruling party now, they have been quite open and vocal about, hey, anybody can serve. As long as you have the passion to serve, as long you have the talent to serve, we welcome. Everybody come. I mean, I'm sure if you all start volunteering, who knows, man?
I mean, assuming that somehow we end up in Parliament, I guess for the child, I have to give them the context early on that okay, your papa is in Parliament, in politics, and I think just it can be rough for them lah.
Well,
So
I think that they kind of already know once they enter politics that that's the end of like the normal family life for them already. So even just the anecdote I shared earlier about Lee Hsien Loong going to the zoo with his wife and his grandchildren. I mean, he's surrounded by police, security, everyone just taking out phones and taking photos of them. So even you imagine the children, they grow up with that already. They kind of know that that's their life and there's something unique or special about them that they get this these privileges, but also this kind of scrutiny.
It's like being celebrity kids lah.
In
Hollywood, right? Hey, you cannot anyhow go like that.
But I mean, even in Hollywood, unless you're like, I don't know how many Hollywood people have security personnel. But can you imagine, like the grandkids, can you imagine for them going to the zoo without security personnel? It's like, how is that possible? You go without security?
That's crazy. Somebody?
It's crazy.
I mean, when I was in secondary school in the 90s, like a little story, but I went on this school trip to China. And I think in that school trip, I think Lee Hsien Loong's daughter was also on the same trip. So there were times we were taking like the train in China and all that. And then the train would move quite slowly and it would pass by these train stations. And it wouldn't stop. It would just pass by the train stations. But at the train stations, there were already like soldiers lined up along the train, almost like just to wave and to receive the train passing by,
As in the Chinese.
The Chinese,
Was it? I mean, did you know for sure that it was for her?
No. Yeah. So I don't know 100% for sure.
Okay.
It was for that, but definitely, I mean, amongst everyone who was there, we were like, we are aware that someone important is present.
When did you all find out that it was her, the daughter?
I remember it was early on already lah. We kind of knew,
Was it?
So before I get Poffman and people say that I'm conflating two
anecdotal
issues.
evidence.
Anecdotal
only.
I just remember that very clearly. I was like, wow, would we normally get that kind of treatment as foreigners visiting a country,
Likely not lah. The more likely treatment, unfortunately or fortunately, politicians in Singapore get, especially during election period, it's quite brutal online, don't you think?
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. Okay, so this came up. Let me show that this Facebook post of Madam Tin Pei Ling, okay, in MacPherson. So she has made a comment up there. Mature estate we may be, but dull we are not. Okay, that's what she says there. Now, and of course, she's for those of you who are listening in, she's standing in front of these colorful HDB blocks and everything. Okay. Unfortunately, the comments are not very forgiving. Okay, let's look at some of these comments. One comment comes up. I suggest you look at urgent issues like cost of living. Colouring is for kindergarten children. One last one that came up right here. How to perform her MP's role and responsibility effectively and sincerely. How to split her 24-hour day to do her MP job and her full-time job. MP is not just taking nice photos against nice background.
Yeah.
Is this just normal for election period that politicians put themselves out there, obviously well-meaning, trying to, make sure that their constituents know who they are, what they're doing, but they cannot this kind of thing?
I mean, as far as I know, I think the vote share for her is quite something. Like, especially in MacPherson, she's always done well there. So, I mean, we don't even know if these commenters actually really live in MacPherson.
No way to tell.
So, I mean, if the numbers kind of like say that she's popular and she's doing her job there, I mean, these comments are, to me, is like just noise. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think in one sense it comes with the territory.
Yeah.
In one sense, I think like there's maybe more sentiment against the incumbents, especially online. And the third thing is that the internet comments is generally a cesspool of shit lah.
It's just the enshittification of the internet that's going on.
I mean, just last week or something, like people were calling me an Apu Nene.
Oh.
Or in the comments.
Last week?
I think last week.
Mine also.
You kena your weekly quota of Apu Nene.
There's a whole data team figuring out, whether
I didn't get the spelled out, I got APNN.
Yeah.
Oh, you got the abbreviated Apu Nene.
Yeah.
They didn't even bother spelling out the full thing.
KNN, ABNN.
Whoa, bruh.
And then just on Reddit, I think recently our podcast, in the same thread, we were called both liberal retards and PAP dogs.
Oh,
as well, in the same thread.
Same. I've been there. Yep.
Yeah.
Exact. I mean, not the same words, but same sentiment on the same thread. I've been kena. I've been called similar things.
So I love reading those comments.
Yeah.
I can't imagine being a younger person online. I think right now I enjoy reading those comments because it's still a comment nonetheless. It's engagement. You're feeding the algorithm. So I welcome it.
You okay with it?
Yeah, but as a politician, unfortunately, I think it's par for the course.
Yep.
And I think especially for the incumbent politicians, they get more flack.
Yeah.
The elections is something that obviously you all are I'm guessing excited about this year.
Definitely.
What excites you most about this SG60 elections? If you had to pick some things, that what's different about it in your opinion, or what excites you about it?
It's the first time we're going to have election rallies in 10 years because 2020 we didn't have that. I think that itself, the live spectacle, people coming together, the photos and all that will come out of it will be epic.
But don't you think the 2021 where it was live streamed was quite interesting also because people can comment live on the
I remember 2020 was damn funny because you have, this, they will show all 5 MPs in a candidates in a GRC, but they're all not in the same place. They're kind of recorded different, but then they are superimposed onto this one virtual rostrum.
Platform, yeah.
It was damn funny Then they zoom in and zoom out. But I think the physical rallies, it's going to be super exciting. Super exciting.
Are there any? How about you, Terence?
I was just going to say, I think interesting because now under Lawrence Wong, right? We're going to see that whether PAP under Lawrence Wong gets the mandate that that the PAP got in 2020 and 2015 as well, or will we finally see the fruits of what opposition has been building for the last nearly 15 years, right? Since 2011.
Yep.
And then will they be able to move on to the next phase of rather than just being like mosquitoes that being swatted away, will they become an official a real opposition party?
Or whether their number of seats might even reduce.
Yeah.
Because you never know, right?
Do you think there's a chance of that given what you've been reading and hearing and actually being a part of the discussion? Do you feel like there's a chance that we might get less seats for the opposition in parliament after this election?
I would say I don't think so, but it's damn hard to predict. When it comes to the presidential election the last time, I didn't expect Taman to win by such a landslide. 2020 election, I think there were some surprises there. Although 2015 there were some surprises there. 2011 there were some surprises there. Even in these recent few days, there's been these seismic shifts in the tariffs and the new world order and all that. So I would think it would be difficult, but hard to tell.
I would have said that the opposition probably wouldn't lose the strongholds that they have now, but because of the changes in the electoral boundaries, I'm not certain, right? You're not very sure how exactly things have changed there.
That happens every election though, right? Every election, like just before or a few months before they receive this news and they have to kind of scamper a little bit, change their strategy a little bit. Do you think it's any different this year? Is it worse, better?
Because Aljunied hasn't been touched since 2011, right? But now they actually removed certain districts, I think 3 polling districts from there. So I don't know the information on those polling districts, how they polled exactly, right?
And how big of an impact they will have.
Exactly. So I think, yes, there was more information in the EBRC report this time. And yes, the opposition parties do face this every time. But, even in our interviews with opposition candidates from PSP and SDP and all, we asked them, is there really an impact that such that you can't plan for it? Yeah, there is, because they say, Hazelport said 41,000 new residents. Within a month or two, you have to meet all of them. You want to meet all of them. That's a lot of work, a lot of groundwork they have to do.
Because they've been essentially working the ground on different places and different people over the years.
Knowing that, thinking that is how the boundary will remain, but if it shifts or it changes or they take out one part and put in another, it completely switches things up.
You mentioned these global world events like the tariffs happening now. Right. So this has come during election campaigning season in Singapore. Is that a good thing, political strategy-wise, for the ruling party, or for the opposition, or for the aspiring young parties? What do these tariffs mean at this point in time for these political campaigners? Maybe for PAP first.
I would think that it is an opportunity to galvanize people and communicate the value of stability. You know, like not deviating too much from the norm. You know, go with the people that you trust that have delivered results over the past few years. So I think it's an opportunity for them lah, being the incumbent lah. Yeah.
In a way, like, hey, look, this is what we're telling you.
Yeah.
I mean, you look like on April 5th, was it? Lawrence Wong delivered a 5-minute video online. April 3rd, which was kind of like doom and gloom. Then on April 8th, in Parliament, he spoke for like an hour, 15 minutes, talking about it, answering some parliamentary questions, some supplementary questions. And I mean, it feels like it is something that they're seeing with treating with a lot of precaution lah. Which I mean you could say is a good thing, but also it's like when I watch it, I'm like, oh shit, what's coming?
Because that's what some of the opposition members have expressed, right? Like, this is maybe a bit of fear mongering, overblowing this because it's election period. Maybe, who knows? I don't know. What's your take on that, Terence?
I think there's an opportunity for opposition to show that they have fresh ideas lah. Because I think everyone around the world is kind of like, oh my God, I don't know what's the future. Like, what can we do? Like, right? So we feel like we're out of ideas. So if the opposition can come in with a compelling vision that isn't driven by fear, but like, okay, here are ideas that we can take to the table, whether it's discussions with the US or, you know, relying more on partners in ASEAN and things like that. So I think there's an opportunity to show that, you know, there's real thought behind what they do other than just opposing PAP. Yeah.
To come to the table and say, hey, this is what I feel we can do. But a lot of these parties' manifestos would have been like, you know, works in progress and almost like, for example, for PSP, it's already been released. Right? It's out there already for everyone to see. And I'm guessing this, I haven't read the full thing, but there were some things that came up, right, in PSP manifesto. For example, it talked about rolling back GST to 7%.
Yeah.
And also having MPs declare their assets. There were a few other things, but let's talk about some of these proposals.
Yeah.
How realistic are they?
I mean, I feel that realistically they won't happen even if they get into parliament. But they are there as to show people what their positions are and to differentiate themselves even from other opposition parties. Because I think, you know, the general feel is that Workers' Party is more closely aligned to PAP, maybe with differences here and there, but PSP really is a lot, maybe a bit more radical in certain ways compared to the Workers' Party. So even they put their 7%, but you know, getting that through is a whole other issue, right?
Yeah.
So I do feel that they put it down there just as a marker in the sand, but I don't think it's realistically something that they would pursue, even if they. The two main candidates, like the two NCMPs, they have now get into parliament.
Yeah.
Do you think it's realistic?
I mean, that's one thing that even when the opposition candidates came on our podcast, a big thing for me was to kind of see like whatever they're proposing, because it's very easy to propose stuff, right? But if it's not backed up by some sort of logic, some sort of research, then it's just like that one friend who everything you do, hey Rishi, why your joke like that? You should have done better joke, you know.
I tell you how you do.
Yeah, I tell you how you do. So
you should say like that. Hey, but don't say I say one. Don't say I say one.
Give you free advice.
So to the credit of some of the opposition politicians who have come on, who have spoken, when you ask them, you almost feel like, okay, they have put thought through this. But whether or not it's realistic or not, it's something that also I think a lot of people are asking and debating. What is the role of opposition in politics, right? I think most people would agree that, is there any one opposition party where if they're given the full mandate of running the government, can they do a good job? I think maybe not at that stage yet. But if they are there kind of like what Terence said, you know, just seeding ideas of what could be an alternative, getting people to not be just, okay, whatever we are told, we just follow, but just to look at these other options. If it's unrealistic, it's unrealistic.
Yeah.
But sometimes to just consider and have that as a possibility, it's important lah.
Do you feel that there is a sense of that actually, if there was an opposition party that became ruling party, would you be afraid as a Singaporean at this stage in life where we are? Would you be like, oh man, we voted for this, but alamak,
I think afraid maybe a bit strong of a word, but like, oh shit, like that's a big change lah. And I think maybe it's not even down to the competency of the people, but because I mean, when you're running a government, there's so much legacy in terms of the relationships that you have built with other countries. A lot of ways of operating diplomatically and all. And given that we've had one party in power for 60 plus years, there hasn't even been opposition in the past that has done some of the things that the incumbent has done.
Yep.
So for them to be thrust with everything, I think it's like even you put the most competent person in any job, but the job is like a job that has been done by one person for 60 years. It's a bit of a tough sell.
It will take some adjustment period, which we don't know how long there will be, if at all.
Yeah. It's a bit like football, like that, right? Like sometimes people, like you can't just put them in the starting lineup straight away. You're going to put them on the bench a little bit, come on for a few minutes, even just... Then the goalkeeper, you swap him out during all the FA Cup and all that. Right?
Yeah. I mean, even Messi and all that, like when you were 17, would they put him in the World Cup final?
Yeah, they wouldn't, yeah.
I love that we are using a football analogy because before we started rolling, we asked Terence what team you support. He said, I don't support any of the football.
I support football. I support football. I don't support a
team agnostic.
I support Singapore only. I don't support all these Angmo team.
That is a cop-out answer.
No, cop-out answer. It's an honest answer.
Cop-out answer.
It's an honest answer, yeah.
He lulled us into a false sense that, no football, football. And suddenly he bring out the football analogy. And
no, because
I love football. I watch more football than
he does.
I went and watched. There was an Australian team, a women's team that came to
the
play
Brisbane Roar.
Yeah. I was there in the stands watching. I support Singapore. That's what I said.
No, me too. I do.
I also support Singapore. Okay,
pressure
but he supports Manchester United from Singapore.
Yeah, from Singapore.
Hey, who among us has a signed jersey by Fandi Ahmad?
I don't know, Fandi Ahmad's son.
I got.
Oh, you are.
I got.
Okay, sorry. You didn't make it.
I mean, I don't have it anymore because I chucked it a few years ago.
You sold it?
No, it was just like, I mean, the signature had faded already.
So how can we verify that it's Fandi Ahmad's signature?
What an insult to Singapore.
Maybe it's the uncle under your block in your Mountbatten SMC.
Yeah.
No, I
I
went to a soccer clinic organized by Fandi Ahmad. I saw him in the flesh and he signed my jersey.
I'll tell you a story about Fandi Ahmad and me. I met Fandi Ahmad in the flesh after doing a really shitty stand-up comedy corporate gig. Right, so I go up on stage and it's one of those gigs where in the front row there was a man having soup with his dentures in a glass in front of him. That's the first thing I see. It's a lot of senior people at one of these country clubs, and then the buffet is going on and people are queuing up, eating satay and all that. And I was a very young and green comedian. I didn't know that I had the right to say no to this kind of shitty gigs. I go on because you're trying to earn your stripes and earn a living, and I go on and nobody's listening for 10 minutes and I'm just making fun of the old uncle drinking his soup and not listening to me, and his teeth are like shaking on the table. And I finished the gig, shittiest gig ever. I realized Fandi Ahmad is at the back, and on the way out he meets me. He says, "Hey, I saw you up there just now." And then he walks away, bro. He doesn't say
Oh, is it?
And I'm like, bro, you never had a bad game in your life, You never missed a goal before, is it?
So was that one of those you meet your hero in person and it's a bit like...
And you realize that actually your hero is really a nice guy, but he doesn't know how to handle this kind of bad situation.
Have you met him since?
Yes, I met him again.
Did you tell him?
No, I did not tell him this. I did not tell him. I mean, I don't think he meant anything negative. He just didn't know what to say. What do you say to someone if they had a shit gig?
Just, good try, saw the effort, so many things to say.
Right? He didn't say any of those.
Very brave, everything,
Maybe he was in a hurry.
And to tell you, I was listening to you. They may not have been listening, but I was listening
Maybe
to you.
he actually heard me and he realized that this fella is shit, man.
Then why come out and say hi to you?
I don't know whether he came up. I think we passed each other. And then it was like, cannot avoid this fella.
Did you say hi to him first or something?
I can't recall, but we either we were introduced or we kind of ran into each other, and maybe there was another person who was there who maybe knew both of us, something like that. It was a very chance meeting.
The fact that he acknowledged you, I think, is a good thing.
No doubts. I think it was just, how sometimes you feel bad to fail in front of the people that inspired you, that you look up to. That was on me. It was my feeling. I didn't expect him to hey bro, good job, you? No need. I think you don't become Fandi Ahmad by saying this kind of flaky shit to people's faces. Maybe Fandi Ahmad is just the kind of guy.
Keep it real.
Keep it real. No need to bluff.
He's like a Michael Jordan.
Yeah, maybe
kind of
like you
thing,
suck, bro. Work harder, man. Wake up at 4 o'clock.
Would you have preferred that he said that to you? Like, you suck. Would you think it would have helped me
I
feel
think if
better?
Fandi Ahmad told me at the start of my stand-up comedy career
That you fucking
that I
suck.
suck and I should quit, I probably would
You'll
do
be
something
in finance
different.
now. You'll be in finance.
I probably would join FAS to play football or work on the committee. Like, actually, Fandi, you got a job now. You know FAS people, maybe I come in, do clinic with you.
Wow, that moment could have changed
Yeah.
your
Could have
trajectory.
changed my life,
you know.
man. Who knows?
Just 2 words from Fandi and it will change your life.
2 words, somebody would change. Anyway, let's bring it back to our political discussion.
Okay.
I heard what you said a little bit about having these new parties come in, and we're not sure about the opposition, or like, will we have more seats, will we have less seats? It's all a little bit uncertain. But do you think having more political parties contesting the constituencies is a good thing for Singaporean democracy?
You mean like every constituency having multiple parties, or just in general more opposition parties?
More, that I guess maybe
Because there's one is like the 3 corner, 4 corner.
tell me the
fight.
difference. Yeah.
Yeah, so one, I mean, if you're saying on a constituency level, whether it's good having like 4 parties contest, 5 parties contest, versus like in the political spectrum having multiple opposition parties, kind of 2 different things lah.
Okay. Maybe break it down for us.
Yeah.
Break it down for us. So, I mean, if you have more, so that means you are saying that you think it's a good idea to have more opposition parties on a whole, but not necessarily in one constituency. Like, you want to see like, okay, they send people all over and they're contesting all.
I mean, I know that like there's one sentiment saying that, the smaller parties should not exist. They should, have a few solid parties to really contest. That one, I think, like you if people have different beliefs and different convictions and they want to form a party, I would say, all credit to them. But where it could become a problem and have lasting impact is if there are 3-4 corner party fights in a single constituency lah.
Yeah.
Because then you fragment your voter base lah.
Okay.
And it would be advantageous to the incumbent if that happens. So that's where I feel like maybe there needs to be more coordination between the opposition parties to really play to their strengths and make sure that they are contesting in the efficient way lah.
Do you see that happening with especially some of the newer parties? Maybe they don't have that relationship with some of the more seasoned campaigners, and they just, like you say, they have some things that they truly believe in. They feel they can serve. They feel they can help. I'm just going to run. I'm just going to call all my kakis or my volunteers who I feel I trust and come, let's go together. I don't need to go and discuss with anybody. So, you see, democracy sometimes suggests that, hey, you got options. You have a choice, right? But now we are saying that actually too much choice is also a bit problematic.
I think strategically,
Can
right? If you're talking about 2 blocks, like opposition and the PAP fighting each other, I think the opposition, they need to be more strategic about things. But I mean, I also have the same thoughts that, I mean, there are, like Bertha Hansen calls them mosquito parties, right? They should just leave. But I mean...
Explain to me what that means. Like, mosquito parties means whatever happens, they're gonna kena what? Mozzie wipe out.
And they are just buzzing around all the other, the main parties, Workers' Party, and SDP and PSP. But they're like just mosquito parties. Every 5 years they appear lah. And then they suddenly make a big hoo-ha and wear, very colourful clothes and all that. So she's saying that they should just go away lah. Don't disturb. Yeah, don't waste people's time and all. But the more I thought about it was, then I think I read a story of one of these mosquito parties. He's gonna take a boat to Pulau Ubin to go and meet the residents who are living there. Because that's
walkabout.
That's one part of his constituency lah.
Swim about.
Swim about or boat about lah. So I mean, if they're on the ground, they're doing what they need to do for their constituents. Who are we as commenters to say that what you do is pointless to your residents, right?
Yeah.
And in some ways, they need they need to do this to be involved in the political process to maybe one day be able to, attract someone like a Pritam Singh, to their party. I mean, Workers' Party before Pritam Singh was felt very different, right, as a party. But now you got leader opposition, Pritam Singh there and all. And he was attracted to a party because there was someone called Low Tia Kiang who was walking around Hougang and really like energizing the people down there, right? Yeah.
And I mean also like when you see like politics, you grow up with this idea, meritocracy like trumps everything else. Everybody gets into parliament due to pure merit, and everything is based on the best idea wins. It's not really the case, right? And in politics, there's a lot of strategy involved,
Yep.
which is why even when the EBRC report was convened, you immediately get some parties saying we're going to run in these constituencies. We're going to run. Whereas the more mature parties like WP, PSP, and SDP, they kind of held back, because ultimately, I would imagine they being more seasoned understand that there is strategy behind this.
Don't reveal all your cards so early.
Yeah. So I would imagine that there's a big part of strategy in politics, which I only realized after we started this podcast and covered news and all. And the best idea doesn't necessarily win, the best candidate doesn't necessarily get elected. And you need to be thinking very strategically about everything you do, everything you say, everywhere you go.
Yep.
Yeah.
Is politics a dirty business in Singapore?
Dirty in what sense?
Whatever sense you take it in. I mean, is it something like, because when we talk about politics globally, there's a bit of like, you're in politics, you're a politician, oh, wow. But Singapore, there's a bit of almost there's a sense of respect.
Yeah.
Hey, you're a minister. Oh, wow. You're a minister of health. Oh, okay, very good.
I mean, for sure, one thing I do feel that Singapore, we have almost too much reverence for office holders, right? And people who are in parliament and all. I just remember, from my time living in the US and all, when they talk about politicians, it's almost like you go there and there's always someone who's heckling the politician at every event, right? Some protester or someone who's not happy, asking tough questions.
Yeah.
And then I remember coming back to Singapore after living overseas during that period, and then like someone's wedding, and they're like, please rise for the arrival of the guest of honor of this wedding, like this MP, and I'm like, who's getting married here? Is it an MP getting married or what? But it's really the case. There's this like, this God is descending upon your event, and then I realized that it's not just in our personal lives, like company events and D&Ds and charity fundraisers, all that. There's always this like, wow, you got a politician here,
Is it safe to say then, now that you have personally met a lot of these political office holders, that actually they don't feel that way about themselves? Like it's the system that puts them on a pedestal, but when you meet them, some of them, they actually are pretty chill and pretty okay to share their views and pretty open to just having a conversation and not taking themselves too seriously. Has that been your experience?
I mean, some yes, some no. Some you meet, you can tell that, it's almost there's this forced aura around them, self-imposed aura. Not to say that it's like totally justifiable aura, but there's a group surrounding them and there is this reverence. Some of them who you would expect might have that actually are very down to earth and approachable. So I think on the individual basis, they are people. But it's the bureaucracy and the image of what a politician is in Singapore that I think makes it, I wouldn't say dirty, but I think right now there's more sentiment than ever against the incumbent. And I think there is almost like a skepticism if you're from the incumbent party versus the same action being done from the opposition. For example, you see a lot of unveiling of new candidates, right? And you see all these people stepping down from civil service and running for the PAP. I mean, I personally feel like, are they really doing this because they care, or is it just furthering of their career, given that they were from the civil service? And I would imagine, I know people have been defending this and all, but I almost feel if you're in the civil service and you want to enter politics, it's almost like a badge of honor. You have been serving the country and now you're going to try. And if all else fails, good attempt. But if you're joining opposition, I think that's inherently already like, wow, serious, that guy joining, that girl joining opposition. It feels like there's a bit more like, wow, your heart really wants to make Singapore better. Of course, you see some people who feels like they're just doing it for airtime, but that's why it's weird. Like, it's the two similar actions, no?
Doing it for airtime.
Yeah, two similar actions, but depending on who they are running for, already cast very different kind of sentiments.
Do you think if you I know you said that in this day and age, you feel like there's more skepticism against the incumbent. Do you think that is something that you personally feel because of where you are in your lives right now? You know, you're at a certain age, you've lived a certain time in Singapore. Because when I was growing up, I wasn't very politically involved, even as a young adult. But I would still hear these sentiments. Government, of course, like that lah. Government lah. Hey, hello, hey, you go opposition where you cannot get job difficult this time. So to me, I've heard this sentiment throughout my adult life. I don't know if it's really that new. That's the first thing. And also then the question becomes that, is it that you are more knowledgeable now? That's why you feel like, actually I'm seeing more skepticism. I'm seeing that there's more. If you are with the incumbent, that means, no lah, normal lah, you civil service, then you go to public service, normal what?
I think maybe part of it comes with the fact that there are people your age that you know that are now suddenly, I didn't know this guy is so good. He now entering politics. He's been selected. He's been anointed to join the incumbent party. So and then this guy's history in school, all that. A bit of cockster there, like this guy last time, go and bully people or beat people up or shed his pants or something like that. And then now suddenly, giving speeches in parliament. Then you're like, you do a double take. Of course, granted, they might have evolved since primary 6, right? But it's still that disbelief.
Your peers,
it's your peers. So I think we are reaching the age where we start to see, people that we knew last time cockster and then now on parliament. Is there something in the selection process that I need to be afraid of?
But same way, probably they look at, hey, Terence, last time your grades so good, now you podcaster.
Yeah.
That's true. But I don't claim to serve people and I don't ask people to vote for me, right?
But that's interesting, it says a lot. In this one conversation, Terence has told us a lot about the kind of schools you go to, You go with like Lee Hsien Long granddaughter, people in China.
That's true.
Then you go,
and man of the people some more. Man of the people
some
some
more.
more.
A friend who joined politics.
His bluff has been called.
So what school do you go to, Haresh?
I never
must be lousy.
Every school is a good
Must be a lousy school, right, Haresh?
I mean, Terence and I went to the same school, same secondary school. Open about it. No, but also
so
I
y'all
think...
are like Leong Man Wai and Shanmugam like from the same school but now fighting.
No, but also I think compared to maybe like 10, 20 years ago when there was that same sentiment, I mean, now you still see some sentiments where anything the government says, there will be complainers. But those kind of empty complainers, I don't take much, I don't pay much attention to.
It's like you said earlier, there's now, because of social media, right?
Yeah.
It's just a cesspool of shit sometimes.
No, but like with social media, like you think about it, like it was only maybe less than 10 years ago when Parliament started being live streamed, right? And now I think you're seeing not just policy decisions, response to questions, but you're seeing general behavior of politicians a lot more than you could see last time. And I think then you're evaluating them more on like not just their intellect, but also their general conduct. And I think that's where you're seeing a more holistic picture, I guess, for better or worse compared to 20 years ago. So I think the sentiment now, it might be, you might disagree with certain policies, but when you see the conduct, when you see the way they talk in parliament, it also leaves an impression. And I think people vote a lot, on policy and all, but I think emotions play a big part. For better or worse again. For better or worse. So I think there's that,
And it goes back to your earlier point about what excites you about this year's election. The fact that, we are going to have rallies again after a long time. There are going to be people cheering, heckling even. And bro, the content, I mean, it's going to be wild, man. It's going to be millions of, hundreds of thousands of phones recording.
Content fest, man. Like,
God, man.
Content gangbang, kind of thing.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Given you're so involved in this year's elections, what can we expect from the Yah Lah But team in terms of election coverage? Are you doing something different that you've never done before? Because I know the both of you have a habit of pushing this envelope, whether you are trying to do a untested format of a series or whether you're trying to do a podcast on a trishaw. What's coming for election coverage this year? Anything?
I mean, the last time we did it in 2020, we were doing it from our homes. Like daily update podcasts during the election
during the hustings,
right? Where we just read stuff online and then we just talked about what happened the day before the
Sorry,
news.
what is hustings?
It's like the 8 days of campaigning.
Campaigning,
lah.
the campaigning.
Just
Yeah,
before
yeah,
cooling
yeah.
off day.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're already doing daily podcasts from there, right? But I mean, you're right. We want to try and ramp up and do something different this time also.
Yeah. So, I mean, we will be doing a daily podcast during that hustings period.
Oh, nice.
Similar to what we did last time, where I think last time we recorded 10 a.m. by like 1 p.m. the podcast is out. And our pitch was that, okay, you don't need to worry about reading all this. You listen to us, you'll be informed and entertained. This year, we're going to be doing that. But we're going to be doing something that I don't think has been done in Singapore before, definitely not for elections. And we are super excited about, but we cannot reveal
Cannot share.
it.
Okay,
Yeah.
no problem.
But it will be on the ground lah.
Okay, so where
On the ground.
and this will, if the listeners or the viewers want to learn more about what you're going to do, when it's going to be revealed or unraveled, how do they find out? Do they go to your YouTube page? Do they go to your Instagram? Maybe you can tell us.
Yeah.
All our social media, definitely we'll be updating on Instagram and Reddit as well, right?
Yeah, Reddit, Instagram, TikTok, our podcasts. Because we know that right now we don't know when the date of elections are. When this comes out, the date might be released, might not be released.
Yep.
Yeah, but what we are going to start teasing in the next few weeks is the concept of what we're doing and keeping people posted. Because just like our podcast where we want to bring people along the, understanding of politics and all, this one we want to bring people along in the unveiling of our idea because there are so many moving parts that we are in the works of tightening and all. But if we can pull it off, it's going to be epic.
I can't wait, man. I can't wait
great.
For that period, and hopefully it's going to be something exciting.
Yeah, man.
Final message for those who are voting this year. I know you all are not running for elections. You are not even going to be. You're going to be on the ground. As you say, you might be on the ground. You are not running for election, but you're voting and you are reporting in a large way about elections. What should voters look out for this year?
What should they look out for? I mean, I think there's going to be an overwhelmingly large amount of content being created around elections.
Yep.
I think there is going to be a lot of polarization and I can imagine a lot of heated conversation, videos of like walkabouts, people getting like angsty and all. But I think maybe don't get swayed by the more trivial stuff. And really try to understand what people are saying. Because I can imagine during rally speeches, there'll be some people who will be very charismatic and but just listen to what they say rather than how they say it.
Okay, very interesting. So go listen to the quality of the ideas rather than the delivery of the communication
in some way,
Okay.
one thing.
Yeah, I would say definitely go to a physical rally. Go and listen to these politicians yourself. I mean, you can stay at home and listen to everything at 2 times speed on YouTube and all, but there's something electric about being there in person. We learned that when we went to Parliament and sat down and listened to it ourselves. And I think we haven't had rallies for so long. It's going to be quite exciting, and it might change your vote actually, even just being in person and feeling the energy there. So just a small thing. Just go on the ground and feel it rather than just listen to all the noise that you get on the internet.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that, folks. So if we are on the ground, you might see Haresh and Terence from the Ministry of Funny covering, reporting, doing something groundbreaking as they always do during this election period. Thanks a lot for being on the show, guys.
Thanks for having us, man.
Really appreciate it, man.
Yeah, Rishi Report. Come on, man.
Full circle, man.
Yeah.
Last time, pandemic was the last time that we were on the Rishi Report, right? During the pandemic.
We've not done this before.
Yeah, exactly.
It's literally the last few times we've all hung out, it's been your questions and my responses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So us watching you, you give a monologue. Yeah.
Watching going like, this joke, I think maybe
can do better.
Can do better. Maybe I give you my manifesto.
No, but I hope you carry on this podcast. Like, don't let this be just a limited series. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah, carry on.
It will be a limiting series. You watch, you're like, my brain now go berserk out of this stupidity. Okay, no, but thank you very much for being on the show. Thanks for being guests. For a change, wish you all the best on Yah Lah But and all the fantastic work that you're doing this year. Your story is truly in parallel with Singapore's story, I do believe.
I thought I was going to say your story also.
My story also. Thanks for ending, but sure. This has been the Rishi Report SG60 podcast special. I'm your host, Rishi Badrani, and we'll see you on our next episode.